This episode of Recording Studio Rockstars is brought to you by OWC, JZ Microphones, Spectra 1964, Atom Audio, and Isotope. You're hearing my voice right now on a JZ pop filter and BB29 microphone through the Spectra 1964 STX100D mic pre and Isotope RX and Ozone, all recorded safely onto an OWC SSD. So get ready to rock.
There is a fine line between mixing and engineering with intelligence, and then there's the other part that's heart and creative, and those two things blending together is a fine line. It's hard to find. Because me, I want to kick my ass. I don't give a shit. It can sound terrible. If it kicks my ass, at least it kicks my ass.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. If you're ready to discover the secrets to making your mixes sound great no matter what your studio situation, then check out my free mixing course, mixmasterbundle.com, where I show you how to get great sounding mixes in your studio using simple techniques and free plugins. And when you're ready for more advanced studio skills, then check out recordingstudiorockstars.com/academy, where you can learn from Grammy-winning teachers to help you record, edit, mix, and master your best record ever. Use the code Rockstar right now at checkout for 10% off any course for a limited time. No matter where you like to rock in the galaxy, the OWC Envoy Pro Electron lets you record with confidence over USB-C with up to more than a gigabyte per second real-world performance. Transfer tracks in seconds and take your sessions with you wherever you go. Built for reliability, the OWC Envoy Pro Electron is waterproof, dustproof, and crush-proof. Find the new OWC Envoy Pro Electron and all your storage needs at maxsales.com/rockstars. Hey Rockstars, it's your host Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Malcolm Springer, an arranger, writer, engineer, producer, and mixer living in Nashville, Tennessee, working in a studio cottage at the previously named House of Blues Studios, now East Iris Studios under Universal Music Group. Malcolm has worked with many artists and genres in his career, including Matchbox 20, Collective Soul, Isaac Hayes, Clutch, Fear Factory, Eric Clapton, Johnny Lang, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, God Street Wine, Albert King, Derek Trucks, and Nappy Roots, just to name a few. He's been awarded platinum and gold records for his work with Collective Soul, Discipline Breakdown in 1997, Matchbox 20, Yourself or Someone Like You in 96, Exile on Main Street in 2007, Liquid Gang, Blunt Force Trauma in 2000, Fear Factory, Digimortal, The Horse Whisperer, the original motion picture soundtrack, Too Fast, Too Furious, original motion picture soundtrack, and Heavy Metal 2000, the original motion picture soundtrack. Very cool. In the early 90s, Malcolm was part of the first team to install the first moving automation system for SSL, Solid State Logic. He also lived for a while in Memphis, working at Beale Street Studios, where he recorded The Mother Station, Olanda Draper and the Associates, Bobby Whitlock of Derek and the Dominoes, and Teenie Hodges, and later recorded in Missouri as well. At 29 years old in 2000, Malcolm secured a label imprint as an A&R rep with the legendary Leor Cohen, one of the founders of Def Jam Island Records in New York City. Malcolm has also been remixing music, more recently for Dolby Atmos surround sound. Some of these artists include Nirvana, White Zombie, Bon Jovi, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Kanye West, Soundgarden, Jay-Z, Steve Miller Band, Three Doors Down, and many others. That's awesome, dude. He now runs his own production company and label 10-Inch Wax out of Nashville. Big thanks to Andy Van Depp for making our introduction. Thank you, Andy. Please welcome Malcolm Springer to Recording Studio Rockstars. Malcolm, are you ready to rock, dude?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to rock.
Dude, it was actually cool reading your bio and the intro here and just being reminded of all the other things that we get to talk about. I love the fact that you're digging into the surround mixing. I want to talk to you about that stuff. I want to hear more about running your label. I think you said that you're getting pretty excited because you got a bunch of new music coming out 2021 into 2022. That's exciting. And then it was just a lot of fun to go back and kind of listen through your back catalog and be reminded of the cool sounds you were making from the 90s all the way to now. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, when you say 90s, it makes me feel pretty old.
Well, I feel pretty old too.
but I was pretty young when I started. So, so I'm not that old.
Yeah, we're about the same age, man. We're about the same age.
Yeah, I like being 50. I do, man. I mean, it's been because then all you can do is get younger girls, and so I got a younger wife, and it's awesome. I'm like, man, I'm the man.
Believe it or not, I'm finally dating somebody who's about the same age as me, and it's pretty fun too. So, but
really,
what can I say? Girls are the best. Women are the best.
Women are.
Yeah. So let's see here. Where do I want to start, man? Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Obviously, we already know at this point that you got a really cool sounding voice. So that's something to tell us
thanks,
about.
Man. Thanks. Yeah, but a lot of people make fun of my voice, that's for sure. And everybody has their imitations, I got to go through that all the time, because I got pretty, I guess, characteristic, voice. I mean, it's got a lot of character to it. So
I think you need to start your own podcast, man. I'll have to watch out when you do.
Well, if I start my own podcast, it's definitely going to be on Bigfoot and aliens. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm just joking there, but yeah, man. I mean, I think we'll do some streaming stuff, but some educational, to show, because I'm gonna tell you the hardest thing for me was to switch from the analog world to the digital and mixing on a computer. I mean, man, if you told me in '95 you're going to be mixing on a computer, in 2020, man, you're out of your damn mind. There's no way. That computer's never going. I used to make fun of people. Well, he's got a computer, doesn't he? Even though, like on Collective Soul, when we started Collective Soul, we had 8 tracks of, Pro Tools, and that was it.
Yeah, Pro Tools at that point was more of like an outboard piece of gear, right? You'd record the tape and then you'd send something over to Pro Tools, do a little something and put it back on tape.
Exactly. Well, what we did was, and it's funny because I remember Mix Magazine interviewed me for that record particularly, and it was weird telling them like how we did it because of course we recorded 16-track 2-inch. We had a machine. We had what was it? It was an X800. No, what was it, man? No, it was an A800. What am I talking about? And we had a Studer A800, and we had one A80. Which the A80s? Have you seen the A80s? You know how they look?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
You tweak them up. Yeah, they're awesome machines. They're a little bit more. Actually, they're easier to freaking calibrate than the other ones. But anyway, and we would record a 16-track, and we would put that, and I had to like convert it at these DA88s. And then the DA88s went, I swear, man, I really did this. And everybody's like, there's no way you did it. Man, all it was it was about 50 foot, maybe 60 foot upstairs there at House of Blues in Memphis of nothing but microphone lines. It wasn't digital lines and all that stuff, which I always looked at that like, man, that really a digital cable. Do you remember all that stuff when you had to have a digital cable?
Right. Yeah, I think I have one cable here that's meant to be an AES cable, but don't use it for a microphone. It's not for mics.
Well, see, that's what my thing is I'm always skeptical of these companies, because they're, what I mean, they're trying, because the consumer people, man, they're looking at it like, oh yeah, man. But, in reality, how much difference is it? But anyway, we just ran it through mic cables upstairs and shipped it up there to our Pro Tools guy. And he did thing. But the interesting thing about that record is the amount of tracks. Like we only, okay. So if you really think about it, man, 8 tracks of Pro Tools. I mean, man, you can't do, you're going, man, how do you really get away with that? Well, I'll tell you how. You freaking record, you got 5 microphones for the drums.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
I mean, and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, so now not only are we having to do all this other stupid shit, to run it upstairs and all this piping here and there, and man, you talk about stressful, because you're going, the sound is definitely not going to be as good, man. It's turned out great. Because, of course, Bob Clearmountain, he mixed the record, and, he was, man, he's super. He loved the sounds, man. He used to love the sound so much he got the drum samples off of it,
Wow.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, if you saw the way we mic'd the kit, it was pretty clever, if you ask me. Of course, Greg Archilla, we had the idea, hey man, put the dang, we had 2, 48s. I mean, I'm talking the good ones. I'm talking the ones that were made, really made before World War II. Those were right under, like we set one right by the high tom and one right by the freaking floor tom and right under the cymbals. And so that was our cymbals. That was our overheads and underheads.
Interesting. So it was like they were your overheads, but you were trying to just get a full kit picture with them, right?
Yeah, it then had one mono mic in front, had a freaking FET 40, which was a M49, and then a FET 47 for the kick, and a 57 for the snare, and there you go. And then later on, we had to add a hi-hat mic, later on, and I'm like, well, what are we going to do here? We ended up getting away with it because think about it, if you got a scratch guitar and a scratch vocal, well, there's 2 tracks. Okay, so you got to have a SMPTE track because, man, we were worried about not having a SMPTE track on the thing. So then that's track 8. So you got 5 freaking places. That's it.
You were doing the thing where you actually recorded SMPTE into a track of Pro Tools because you didn't trust that it was going to sync up properly, right?
Exactly. And then everything's in vain. Then it doesn't matter. You may have an extra track, but guess what? You can't lock the dang thing up because it doesn't catch right. Those Lynx modules too. Those Lynx modules.
Oh yeah, with the push
that's how we're
linking
linking everything up. Now, I like the Lynx module. There was another kind though we had back there, and everybody was always fighting over the Lynx module because we had one. But then we had a couple of, we had the gear there. Gary Bell's, I was so fortunate because, he practically, raised me. He kind of picked up, because my dad passed away when I was young, and he kind of picked up the pieces and, and really has been there like a father for me, for it's been 31 years now, and,
yeah.
I don't know if did you ever meet Gary?
I don't know if I have. No. Tell us about Gary.
Well, Pop started out, it all started out with, when I got there, Joe Walsh, he owned half the studio too.
And which studio are we talking about at this point?
That was House of Blues in Memphis.
Okay. All right. Dig it.
And, man, I don't give a damn when anybody says that room, the drums and that the place was, butter for drums. Well, anything, man. It was just a great room. And we it's funny because when I got there, Pops had done some records. Like he did, I guess, Skies Crying, was recorded there. And I got a great story for that. By the way, just real quick on a side note, don't want to get off track because I do that every once in a while.
Sure.
But listen to this. So here is Stevie Ray Vaughan's in there, man, and they're trying to, Jim Gaines is producing the thing, right? So, well, man, they can't get the buzz out of the guitar, out of Stevie Ray's guitar.
Single coil pickups.
So, man, I'm not bragging on my pops. I'm just saying, Gary Bell's, I call him Pops, have for years, and Pops has so much power in Memphis, he literally had the power shut off 3 city blocks to get the buzz out of Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar. Families did without electricity for several nights in a row when Stevie Ray walked in the door and started playing. I'm not joking.
Amazing.
Look, man, hey, you know what? You have to be one hell of a guitar player to have 3 city blocks shut down electricity for your buzz to get out of your guitar. That's ridiculous, but it happened. It happened. I wasn't there time. That was before me. But anyway, the whole point is that he had done that record was done there. And Travis Tritt, remember that? Here's a quarter, call someone, So that record was done there. And Driving and Crying. Do you remember that band?
Yeah, sure.
That record was done there, and those are the only 3 records that I know of that he really had come through there. It was successful. So I kind of got on the ground floor of the business, and Mr. Joe ended up, some things happened and bad things happened, and Mr. Joe went ahead and sold part of the studio to Pops, and
that was Joe Walsh.
Yeah, he had a bad time. That was kind of a bad time in his life to some degree, And
and this is where you were cutting your teeth. This is where you were learning how to make records and stuff like that. Had you gone to school before this, or had you just sort of come up in Memphis?
For years and years, I lied about that, because man, I get so many of these dang students that come in and they're just, it's like, man, these guys are fucking idiots. It's like, why? Like I literally fired 100 interns one year, 100, and I'm not kidding. I know you're going, but there's only 365 days in a year, so about every other day I was firing somebody. We were just rolling in because I was like, Pops, we got to find somebody that wants to work. So it's like finding those couple guys we need that's going to really be a part of the team and kick some ass and be sharp. You have to go through that many. It's sad, but anyway. But I went to Full Sail down in Florida, and I've never visited the school since, and well, I'll be honest, we have been too busy.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the time, I think Full Sail was a good place to start because it was, wasn't brand new. But when I went, I knew more. Okay, put it this way: it wasn't very hard for me to get through the thing because I knew most of what they were saying, but. I knew most of the stuff anyway, some of the terminology.
How did you know that stuff? Were you already recording with the 4-track and things like that growing up?
Oh, yeah, man. Well, my band, when I was young, we had a development deal, and when I was 14, and my band, man, you know what? We were a kick-ass band. We had a song banging at radio, and we were doing good. And of course, man, I was too young to know what the hell was up, and everybody was older than me. And
what were you playing? Guitar? That's your instrument, right?
I played bass, and I wrote a lot of songs, and stuff, and had the ideas and stuff. When the singer took kind of that by the helm, and Greg Johnson's his name, and he really was awesome at taking ideas I had and making them into something, really cool.
Dig it.
But anyway, but that's where, so when I recorded that stuff, like, when we recorded our stuff, it's like I learned right when I walked into Doug Easley's studio in Memphis.
Yeah, Doug. I tried to have Doug on the podcast. We were trying to connect in Memphis years ago, and we just missed each other. So I got to go back, and a good reminder to get Doug on the show.
Yeah, because that guy really inspired me right off the get-go to become a producer, But, still, look, I'm from the country. I mean, I'm from the real country. People say they're from the middle of nowhere, and I just laugh. I'm like, well, wait till you come and see where I'm from. And then everybody always that says that, they come to where I see where I'm from. They're like, holy shit, you are from the middle of nowhere.
And where is that?
In Missouri, between New Madrid, Missouri, and a place called Portageville, Missouri.
So I noticed Clutch was on your discography, and I wondered if you and Vance Powell knew each other from up that part of the world, Missouri, and in that area at all.
No, but I know he's from over there, and that's so funny you said that, man. My thing, I recorded Clutch at Bill Street Studios. It's so funny. I don't even remember the session. It was James Diener from J Records who reminded me of that record. About, I don't know, it was about 15 years ago. And I'm, oh yeah, man, I did that. That's right. I did engineer some of that shit.
That happens once you've done enough records, right?
Well, yeah, because it's funny because somebody had said they saw a soundtrack because I have a Scream 3 platinum record at the house, for the movie. And somebody's like, oh yeah, shit, you did Scream 2 also. I went, I did? Yeah. Something like that comes up all the time, though. Like, really, I was on that movie too. Okay, shit.
Nice. Well, so
but it's funny that that's happened when you get older.
do you need to record direct stereo keyboards? Spectra 1964 now offers the Stereo BBDI2 with custom wound high-Z transformers for big headroom, virtually flat response, and a 15 dB input pad. The Spectra 1964 BBDI passive direct box is also perfect for recording deep bass that will make your mixes sound huge. Plug that into a C610 complementer, and as founder Bill Cheney points out, it'll move your pant leg. Get your sound moving at Spectra1964.com. With so many game-changing iZotope plugins to choose from, deciding which one to buy next could be a bit of a challenge. But did you know that now you can have all their plugins through iZotope's new affordable subscription bundle, Music Production Suite Pro, for only $19.99 per month? Get your Rockstar extended 30-day free trial subscription now at iZotope.com/rockstars and use the code ROCK10 to get 10% off any individual plugin purchase. Malcolm, you've done a lot of stuff and you've seen recording shift from like 8 tracks of Pro Tools to now and stuff. What's some stuff that you feel like has, maybe it's obvious what's changed in recording from that time to now, or maybe it's not, it's worth describing, but like what things feel like they remain the same for you as far as, recording and what makes a great record and things like that?
The thing that's just a solid foundation for records is songwriting, and it's so funny. If you want to know what I used to say to everybody, and I still feel the same way to some degree. To some degree, I say that because we do pre-production in my room here at Universal with bands. But man, the record is really made in a rehearsal hall.
Yeah,
it's not made in a studio, and that's the thing I can say bugs me about today's stuff. But it is kind of cool in here. I don't get my ears blown out because I get the E-drums out and we're all in here together. It's like a family type of thing, and we're working on songs and arranging. It's much easier to communicate with people. But the thing that stays the same is it's the song that's going to be what makes it happen.
Yeah, no, but hold on. I want to pivot back to what you just said because that's pretty cool. So two thoughts is we talk about pre-production, the rehearsal space. And, my first thought is, okay, we're talking about band records. Makes sense. A group of people playing together. So it requires that figuring things out. But then I thought about like, well, what about other kinds of records where, people are programming and stuff and starting with that. And that's almost in the rehearsal space too, because those records are made by arranging and selecting the right sounds before it even gets to the mixing stage and stuff. But you just mentioned a good point, which has come up before on the podcast too, which is this idea of bringing the band into the control room, doing things quietly. Like when you say E-drums, you're talking about having people right in sort of where you can keep the volume down and really talk to each other and figure out what's going on with things. Yeah,
like Jason Bowl, he's a session player in here in Nashville that I use pretty much for every record, not every record, but most every record that I need a session player on. And we set the E kit up, like the little rolling E kit up in the corner. And I got everybody plugged in, and we're using we're using the box amps, the guitar amps and stuff. I like the Universal Audio amps, and I really do. But I like the new the Neural DSP stuff. We've been doing a lot of that stuff. But anyway, for heavy stuff, really, Neural DSP kills it. But yeah, so everybody's, so you don't have like loud guitar rigs like blaring at you. And I still think I have hearing damage from the Fear Factory record, back in fucking 2000. Those guys, oh my God. Because I never would wear earplugs in a rehearsal hall because I thought it was offensive. I would be offended if I was in a band and somebody came in with earplugs. And I'd be like, this guy's up breaking. He's a sissy, this guy. Of course, I could use another word for it. But anyway, but
right.
But yeah, it's just like, so when you are doing it because I have a rhythm section called Machine Gun Midget. Is that not hilarious? What a great freaking name for a freaking rhythm section. But we get here and hey man, when we record, right for somebody, man, it sounds like a record when you get done pre-production. you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, pre-production's
right
key.
players.
I mean, you get everybody playing well, and I find the recording process can go pretty quickly because everybody delivers right off the bat, you know?
But, you know, let me step back a minute because you're talking about solo artist thing. Okay. But here's one thing I have learned, and it has been awesome, is, you know, when you're in pre-production, it doesn't matter if it's a solo artist, because with the solo artists, I have session players. Yeah. But those guys have to learn the parts that I'm hearing, or they have to come up with new parts. And there's this moment that happens like right when the song is arranged and it's fresh, and there's this moment that you can capture now. You know, that moment in the rehearsal hall, I always would be like, man, when you get the song arranged at that time, they get it, man. I mean, they got it, and they got it good. And man, you're like, man, wish we'd have had a tape rolling in.
Yeah.
Well, now we do. And that's the great part about this new technology and stuff. It does help, you know, a lot, you know, because you may have a singer in the control room. Who cares? Let it go. Let it bleed. Who cares? Roll it, you know, and have a great vocal take. And still you can, man, with the tools you got now, heck, you can make the dang thing sound like it was, you know, like a record.
Yeah. So, you know, actually your voice sounds good right now. Tell us what mic you're using and if that's the mic you might choose for the singer in the control room during something like this.
Oh, this is definitely the mic, and that's the SM7. Yeah, this is the mic definitely I would use for the control room. Oh, yeah.
Right. So you don't, if you're going to have a singer in the control room, we're not busting out the big tube condenser mic necessarily for that.
No, because, man, in our place is pretty freaking tight, too. I mean, it's a nice place, and it's got all the isolation from the other booth. But, man, I just bought that Slate mic, both of them. I bought both of them because of the whole hoopla about it. And me and my second engineer were like, you know, it sounds decent. It sounds pretty good. It's not like, oh my God, it sounds like a real 251. It has its quirks, that's for sure. But it still feeds back even through the glass, you know. So heck no, a tube mic, you kill it in the control room, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those things that's a real bummer when you first learn that lesson. You try and put a hot vocal tube mic in the control room. I did a session like that, and my intern was engineering for us, and I was playing, and he was doing his best to try and manage the muting, the speakers and all that, but he hit one wrong button in the wrong order one time, and it took out both the NS10s.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned years ago about the NS10s. You know, man, I mean, I have my little things I do that just saves me a lot of money and a lot of time, and that is freaking, I bus fuse the back of them.
Well, I did too. This was so much feedback that it bypassed those bus fuses.
Yeah, but what do you use? You use a amp and a quarter? Something
like that. I can't remember. I kept moving it up. So Rockstars, just to break it down, because I know Malcolm and I are jumping around pretty fast.
Sorry,
but if you put a hot mic in the control room, it's like stage, but it's a hell of a lot closer, you know, and it's going to blow up your speakers if you accidentally have your speakers cranked, which every time you play back the take you just did for the band or for yourselves, guess what the speakers are going to be? They're going to be cranked, right? Because you turned it up. And then if you actually put the stuff back and record, now you got a hot mic in there. So that will blow your speakers, and you can protect your NS10s. And Malcolm, I don't know if anybody was doing this with other speakers, but you could, right? But you'd actually drill a hole in the back of your speakers, install a fuse, and put that in line to the speaker cone.
Yes, I mean, I have a couple pairs. Well, I have one pair like that sitting on a shelf, and the other pair is not good. So I have three different kinds of NS10s, all made from different decades, actually. So, and I'm using these. These are from these are from the 90s. So it's like, you know, I got my 90s, I got my freaking you know what I'm saying? I got my real old ones that were made in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
But it's funny you said it. So some of them, I have one pair that, you know, drilled a hole to back and did that. And the other two, I just use an actual, I went to Home Depot and got a bus fuse, wired the hot side up and but I use, what I was going to say is I use an amp. I don't use an amp and a quarter because that quarter is what has cost me a lot of money. I'm telling you, I'm serious. That quarter, if I use an amp, man, I don't have any trouble. I never knock out a tweet or something happens ridiculous, and it could anytime. But because you're exactly right. I don't care. The SM7 won't feed back as fast, so it seems like it gives a lower feedback. I got real high to knock out tweeters. It kind of gives a lower thing in the control room. I don't know why that is, but anyway. So I have never knocked out any with the dang SM7 in the room, but it will feed back on you really bad, man. But if you got an amp on there, man, fast blow, dude, it'll catch it every time.
Yeah, that's the key, Rockstars. Fast blow fuse. You don't want to wait around for very long.
If you haven't noticed, I love talking shop. I don't ever get to talk, of course,
Let's talk about your amp, because if we're going to talk NS10s, so again, Rockstars, the Yamaha NS10 is a classic studio speaker from the 80s all the way to, Chris Lord-Alge re-releasing his own version of it, right? But then you've got it. But then a big thing was like, well, what amp are you going to use with it? So you got anything you want to say about your amp choice, Malcolm?
That's funny you said that, because I forgot which one I was using. That's funny, but I'm using the one that you're supposed to, the Yamaha.
Right. I had the Bryston 4B. That was one that I liked. And I saw Tom Lord-Alge using that down at his studio. And so I was just like, as soon as I found one, I was like, okay, I'm getting that.
4 years. I know everybody laughs at me, but man, I've still got it here. It's a carbon power amp. And this thing is heavy as hell. I'm talking like you have to get a dang mule to carry something good. I'm talking it's heavy. But man, I used it for years. And just one day kind of just went out on me. It started freaking fuzzing out a little bit. I'm like, what the hell? So it ended up, and man, I used that thing for 10 years, a carbon, but man, it's way, way, way too big for the NS10s. I mean, it's like, man, like some of you would use if you went on tour, in a freaking Coliseum type of stuff. But and then I went to a Bryston, and Bryston was okay, But I was like, man, let's just put the Yamaha in. This is what these speakers were made for that. So let's just do that.
Okay, good advice.
And you know what? And I wouldn't get away from that subwoofer for years. I would not. I still have my Yamaha, my old original Yamaha subwoofer, but I switched to this thing KRK, and man, I dig it. I dig it, man. It does. It is where I need to do, but monitoring.
Talk about that.
Man, I gotta say, man, I'm not trying to plug anybody. I'm not endorsed by them. I'm telling you right now, Sonar Works literally changed my life. I mean, it literally. And I wrote them a letter and told them, you guys, man, if y'all need me to do anything for you, I'm here because and I've done quite a few records because that Sonar Works has saved my freaking relationship with my kids, my relationship with my wife. I mean, and it's made it where, Gandalf, Brandon is his real name. We'll call him Gandalf. He looks like Gandalf, but a young Gandalf, from Lords of the Ring, but anyway, it saved his life, man. I mean, he's actually a living being that walks the planet and he's not dead, because man, nothing gets you worse in a worse mood than being nailing a mix in your room and take it out to the car. And you're like, what the hell are you
Yeah.
What the hell is this, man? Are you serious? This only sounds shit like I haven't. Man, everything's pretty spot on, man. If you have too much low end in your mix or too much high end in your mix or whatever, it's gonna be because of you. It ain't gonna be because you ain't hearing it.
And you were using that with the NS10s plus the subwoofer, like you were describing.
Yes, sir. And I have had so many people go, man, you need to get some more hi-fi speakers in your room. And you know what? I may do that to just have it just to kind of, but man, I'm worried about doing it. I'm worried to throw me off.
Well, I mean, like you talk about the frustration of going to the car, and I definitely know that one. I'm sure lots of people listening know that. So part of my take is like, if you got a solution that makes you go to the car and feel like, hell yeah, I nailed this. That's all I really care about most of the time,
Yeah, because Sonar Works with the microphone. I think it's less than $400. Okay, look, here's the deal. If you need an oxygen machine to live, you better get one, and that's the oxygen machine because that'll tune any room. It'll make it sound, it'll get it where you can hear what the hell you're doing. And it doesn't matter what speakers you're using. Now you gotta use decent speakers. I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna say any companies' names because I don't want to badmouth anybody. I just want to say there's certain things I wouldn't use because they sound too damn good. And how in the hell are you gonna mix on something? No one's gonna be listening to something that sounds that damn good. So why would you? You know what I mean? Like, why would you use hi-fi speakers to listen to see if you got it where you want it there? Fine, but I'd rather do that out of control room. I would. I'd rather listen in the truck or the car, and just use my NS10s because that's what I know. Now these younger guys that they can't, most of them can't afford NS10s, or because the NS10s can come pricey because of the dang woofers that you got to change out. It's a lot of maintenance.
Sure, yeah, and then you learn that the fusing trick and hopefully get the right gauge fuse. The JZ Microphone Vintage Series are built by hand in Latvia and feature the patented Golden Drop capsule design for enhanced clarity that will give your recordings that classic vintage tone. Our friends at JZ Microphones have come up with a special offer only available to you, Recording Studio Rockstars listeners. Use the limited time coupon ROCKSTARS to get 50% off the V67, V47, or the new V12 microphone at JZ Mike.com. Atom Audio can provide all your monitor needs, whether you are setting up a first-time home studio for recording music or podcasts, or a world-class studio for professional mixing and mastering. Their unique accelerated ribbon tweeter design is famous for creating smooth, detailed imaging that let your speakers disappear into your music, allowing you to focus on the mix. Visit the Atom Audio YouTube channel for lots of cool free interviews, tutorials, masterclasses, and learn how to set up your studio monitor and control room. Just click the link in the show notes of this episode. A takeaway for me has been learning, initially maybe you learn, I gotta learn to check my mix in the car, and then you might learn, I gotta learn to check my mix on the iPhone or the speaker or the earbuds or wherever, some place that seems like it's the opposite of hi-fi, right? But then you learn, like for me, I'm like, but hi-fi, it's okay to have hi-fi speakers in your control room. That's just another place that you might decide, I want it to sound good here too, if possible. But it's not the only thing.
Right. But that's the thing. Now there's been records I've done, I've tracked on Genelex, and of course over in the cave was where I tracked last couple things and here at Universal. And, have you been over there yet? Have you seen the control room?
Oh, I don't know. Which one?
It's the one with the blonde API in it.
Nope, not yet.
When you walk in, you're kind of confused at first because it's a blonde API. And I think there's only two in the entire world. And it's Johnny K's console still. We just house it, and give it a place to live and he comes every once in a while and tracks a band here. Of course, we don't charge him anything.
And tell us, just say that clearly one more time. Which studio is that?
It's the Cave.
The Cave, which is part of House of Blues right there in Berry Hill.
Right. Well, we're all still confused about what to call the studio. It's the old House of Blues, East Iris / Universal Music Group Studios. Right. It's a whole street. It's what's funny we're calling it studios because people are like, well, man, how many studios do you have in here? I'm like, well, there's actually 2 in the freaking main building, but I think there's 15, 16. Throughout the complex, with the Atmos rooms and the A tracking room is amazing. It's the old East Iris room. It still has that 80 input SSL. Freaking more gear. Look, the last tracking session in there, I used a 1081 on a hi-hat. Okay, if you've got so much gear that you're using a 1081 for a hi-hat mic pre, you got a lot of mic pre's. It's like I'm sitting there getting the mic, getting the hi-hat tone, and of course, you're actually most time, you're just getting a level because it's a hi-hat. You put a 1080, like a KM84 on it or something like that, and you get the level on it, man. Half the time you don't even check the damn thing. Yeah. It looks funny you do, but I was saying because the truth be known, most time when I mix, I'm muting the hi-hat track unless it's something real detailed. But anyway, but you got to see the gear over there too. Gosh dang, it's unreal. Rack pull text, freaking. I think there's 16 1081s. You know, of course, there's APIs, like whole entire wall for APIs. It's really awesome, man.
Yeah. So and then the area, just to describe it for the rock stars, is like it's a part of the Berry Hill where the streets kind of come together. It goes around the corner. And then it's really cool because where all these different studios are and little different houses, and you called yours kind of a cottage studio, little houses that are turned into studios. Some of them are bigger, but you guys also have, it's all been painted. It's like artistically, beautifully painted with murals. And do you guys still have the fake little water tower? Is that still there?
We still have the water tower. And I remember when me and Pops, when he told me his idea about the water tower, and then we got told that was against the code here in Berry Hill. And he said, son, I'm going to build it anyway. And we put, the only thing about the water tower that I'm mad about is I wanted him to put me an apartment up in the water tower. So nice. When I got done with my session, the band would see me walk across the street, climb up a ladder, and get in my little apartment to go to bed. And man, I think that'd been cool, but that's the only thing that makes me mad about that. But anyway.
Well, dig it, man. Let's see. What else should we say about that area right there? So tell us about your studio that you're in right now. What are you surrounded by? What kind of stuff? I mean, we got a little bit of a picture for your speakers. Looks like you're into some collectible stuff. I may or may not have heard a rumor that you might be a fan of trying to make a record with Bigfoot or aliens.
Yes, and I really, really plan on trying to make a record with Bigfoot and Elvis. This next year. But just, man, I'll tell you, probably on the podcast, but this idea for my short film and have like Bigfoot and Elvis get together, like go up to Washington. Because, man, I actually go to Washington State to hunt Bigfoot. And everybody laughs, but you wouldn't laugh if you went, because it's a different vibe, man. If you go, because the place I went was Darrington, Washington, about 30 miles north of there, which on these roads that are like, man, you're like, man, we are not going to make it out of here fast. If something does happen, there's no fast way out of here. I mean, and then when you get back there, you hike in 12 miles. But anyway, yeah. So hopefully we'll do this whole short film and hopefully we'll get Bigfoot and Elvis, do a song together this next year, and put it out. It'd be freaking hilarious, man. Do a video for it. Be great.
Yeah, it's like the backdrop for an X-Files episode right there.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you can't get any better than that, but I will say this though, man, that somehow we got to work in like an alien being a part of the song. I don't know how yet, but I'm thinking about that one. I'm gonna figure that one out. But
what mics are you gonna choose for Bigfoot and Elvis to sing on? That's what we really want to know,
man. 251. There was a mic that I used at over there at Soundstage, Black River. This past record, what was it again? Sound Deluxe 251. Look, man, have you ever used one of those?
Not yet. No. Does it sound pretty good?
Jeez, that thing is the best sounding freaking vocal mic I've ever freaking recorded with. And man, I'm going to tell you something. I've recorded a lot of freaking, name the vocalist. Hell, I've even recorded Tony Bennett. I'm telling you right now, that microphone over there, and I plan on buying one. This thing's only like $5,000. I was like, what? We looked one up. I'm like, holy shit. It's like, because you got Sound Deluxe, not anything against the company, but it doesn't sound like a Neumann, or, it doesn't sound like one of those prestigious microphones, Man, this thing kicks ass. I'm telling you, Elijah, you gotta try it, man. It's
nice, man.
I'm definitely buying one, but I'm a Telefunken guy, and over here at I would freaking use a Telefunken 251 on a vocal before I would anything. That or a 49, or 48, or 47. I'm a big on tube mics, man. There's a certain thing. It's not bullshit. It's like, but hey, look at the records I've done. I've used an SM7. I'm sitting here talking on. So
yeah.
a rock record, I would reach for the SM7 first, and then I would freaking try a couple different ones before, because me, what I do when I'm doing vocals on a singer, it's funny because these so-called scratch vocals we're doing, right?
Right.
Well, it's so funny because actually during this last record, Dakota Portman is a new artist. It's his first record, and signed I signed him to my new label, and I'm over there. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, we did very, very little overdubs. I mean, I think we overdubbed one song of vocals. That's it. Yeah. He we were prepared, like with pre-production, everything. He went in there, and as the band, actually, we kept taking takes to get more vocal takes with the band, because there's some guys, and he is an incredible singer, but man, he gets so aggravated with the punching in and trying to work it and everything. So you got to work on those things before you get to tracking. And hell, I think, man, we'd have like 3 or 4 takes, and I'd comp them, and man, it might be 1 word or 2 words we had to punch, and there you go, done.
Yeah, no, I love using the SM7, and that's one of my favorite things to do, is set that up for a vocal while the band's playing, and I just think you get vocal performances that have got a lot of energy and feeling while the band's actually playing. And then I like to, if that felt like a take, don't even worry about comping the band, comping the take, any of that stuff. Just like immediately see if the singer can just blast out 2 more takes right in that moment, have the band listen back in the control room, cheering the singer on while the singer sings a couple more times. And I've gotten great results that way.
Yeah. But I mean, just in my experience, I'm just saying, when I've got people like, Jason Bowl playing drums, you got Paul Allen playing guitar, you got ridiculous Trey Hill playing the other guitar. I mean, you got ridiculous players, Josh Patini's on lap steel. I mean, you're getting a take every time. It's like, hell, let them some bitches play. Because it seemed to me like, and I had to do that on another record too. I'm not going to name it because it's a pretty big record, but we had set up the whole band again, and to get vocal takes, because I just couldn't get him to overdub. I mean, I couldn't get him in. Man, he sounded good, but good and great was way different thing. So are you kidding me? We're setting up an entire tracking session to get vocals. Yeah, but don't tell the band that. We're just going to tell them. We're just going to tell them we're going to record some stuff over, and we'll just get in there and we'll start tracking all of them again, 3 or 4 takes of each song, and we'll have the vocals. Wow. But you know what? A lot of microphones are set up for one microphone to be used, but hey, it works. It's like, because it's like, because they're not out there alone, there's a team type of thing. Even though for a solo artist, he feels more secure with a band playing with him. It's just the way it is. I mean, I would too. But some of them are like that though. Some of them will lollygag around and tracking and kind of half-ass sing. And I don't want to hurt my voice, man. That's bullshit, man. Get out there and sing, dude.
Yep.
This is it. We're recording, because man, think about all the great records that you love that went down like that. I know. I've heard stories from Mr. Joe and Pops about the Eagles sessions, and I don't know how much of it's bullshit or true, but I'm sure there's some truth to it. But there's always some exaggerating about how Don Henley was playing drums and singing through one of these microphones right here, an SM7, and that was the vocal take. I'm like, how, man? Wow. I can't believe that. And Pop's like, yeah. He's sitting there playing, and so they kept the take. When he's playing drum, because they couldn't get the freaking voice out of the drums. No shit. Well, I mean, you got to kind of look at that and go, man. And I'll tell you, hey, I'm a huge Eagles fan. I went back to listen to that, and I can't hear any drums through the microphone. I mean, none. So I don't know. But yeah, there's something about the live band, the band being there, doing it all together. I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things,
I love using iZotope plugins for my music and podcast productions. In fact, you're hearing Ozone and RX on my voice in this podcast episode. And now you can get access to all the iZotope plugins through the new subscription bundle. For only $19.99 per month, Music Production Suite Pro is designed for the serious recording, mixing, and mastering engineer, putting the finishing touches on music, film, and podcasts with fully pro versions of Ozone, RX, Neutron, Selector, NeoVerb tonal balance control, visual mixer, and more, including free plugin updates. And just for you rock stars, get an extended 30-day free trial subscription at iZotope.com/rockstars and use the code ROCK10 to get 10% off any individual plugin purchase. Coupon not valid for subscriptions. The STX 100D from the Spectra 1964 Custom Shop is the big brother to the now famous STX 100. A fully discrete mic pre with dual transformer isolated Spectra 101 amplifiers, the STX 100D is exactly the same original circuit found in Stax, Ardent, Advision, A&M, and Record Plant recording consoles. The sonic performance is identical. Best of all, it will plug into a single space of your standard 500 lunchbox. And if you want to add the sound of the famous Spectra C610 complementer, then check out the new STX 600 modules, combining the STX 100 mic pre and C610 into a single 500 module. Now you can get the same incredible sound in your studio that worked for famous producers like Tom Dowd with the STX mic pre's BBDI and complementers. Go to Spectra1964.com or call 801-797-0642. Hey, Rockstars, back now for the jam session. My guest today is Malcolm Springer, joining us from his studio in Berry Hill. And if you're ready to kick it off, Malcolm, you ready to jam?
Yeah.
All right, man.
I sure am. I want to go back. There was a question you asked me earlier.
Yeah. What was that?
About what my surroundings are here in Berry Hill.
Yeah. Tell us more about your studio there.
Well, man, my little place is cool because it's like oversized Pro Tool suite, I guess you'd say, with one ISO booth. And on the other side is Kyle, Odell, a young rock producer that is, man, he's kicking ass right now. I'm so proud of Kyle. That's why I moved him in over there too, because I love it. He's an amazing mixer, man. And for me to say that, because man, I'm pretty tough on people,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys, man.
Well, we heard about your intern story there.
Oh, yeah. If you suck, you suck, man. Just get the fuck out of here. Get out of the way so people who are really good can do their thing, instead of just watering down the whole thing. But anyway, he has a control room and ISO booth over there, and we have a lounge that we share together. We just have so much gear and guitars and amps and stuff like that. We're going to have to put a storage place outside. It's pretty funny because it's just there's no way we're going to make it without it. But we love where we're at, so we're going to stay here. And Berry Hill it's a bold statement here. Okay, is the center of the music business, of the recording business. It's no longer L.A. It's no longer Music Row. It's I'm not saying all the great records in Nashville is recorded over here. I'm just saying, man, a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, you guys are definitely a hub. I mean, you could just look out your window, open your window. Well, I don't know if you have a window in your studio, but you can open the window, actually. Yell over at the studio next door. Everybody's right there. You guys all run into each other at lunch at the same places, right?
Yeah. And now, of course, the COVID thing kind of put a damper on everybody getting together. That's the reason why I wanted to move back here, was to be around people that did the same thing as I did, because I had a studio out in Missouri. It was beautiful, man. It was awesome. And man, just, and bands would come there, man, tour buses and stuff. And I've made a lot of great records over there in Missouri, in my hometown. But it was, man, nobody in that whole place has a damn thing in common with me. I mean,
right.
And what you are in Berry Hill is you're around a bunch of uncommon people, because the people who are here are super successful. They're damn good at what they do, and that's why they're here, or they wouldn't be here. They're not people who aren't. They're usually gifted or talented, one, but both. You run into both. That you run into people all the time that are truly gifted engineers. That when I say gifted, I mean that's why God put them here, was to do exactly that.
Yeah,
because that's what they're just damn good at. And the place like last weekend. I can say this now because they're gone, but the Foo Fighters are here last weekend. It's like, it's not just country folks, you'll see freaking Luke Bryan pull in and bring in, it's like, it's just a constant freaking a thing of people who are, man, it's not about the fame and stuff. It's about who, they're great at what they do,
yeah.
And it's funny because the ones that don't have a name and aren't famous yet are the ones that really meet and get to freaking know, because they're going to be that, you know.
Indeed.
That's the truth, man. You can't, it's so funny. You see these guys not treating some of these baby bands treat them like shit. I'm going, man, that's the wrong thing to do. Because I remember a lot of baby bands that turned into mega superstars, and you're like, wow, that guy couldn't even buy his own lunch. Rob Thomas was one of them, man. I had to buy him freaking dang Burger King, because he didn't even have enough money to eat on his record,
Wow.
And now look at him, so it's like it's something to see, man. And that type of thing. And this place is where that happens. I have this whole thing about Berry Hill. The reason why it's shifting over here isn't because of the condos being built on Music Row. It's because this is just a better place to write songs and record. It just is. It may have to do with the sea level. It may have to do with the it's always been writing over here. From what I understand, Berry Hill's been always a center for writing. I mean, haven't you heard that too?
Well, I cut my teeth over in Berry Hill. I started out at a place called Alex the Great over on Fessy Park Road. And people were coming all the way from Japan to work with us there. I mean, we were getting people coming from all over. And I loved it. I loved being over in Berry Hill, and it's like completely blown up since then. I mean, this was before we had places like Blackbird Studios and the Academy and all that stuff.
Now Jonathan Cain, his place is on the corner, and it's really nice. Have you been in that place, Jonathan's place?
Not yet, no, but I've been over Ryan Hewitt. We did a step. I saw his place over there near where you are.
He's moved out, and you know what? We put a freaking a 48 input SSL over there.
Oh, nice, man. Well, so now you're also doing a bunch of cool Dolby Atmos mixing, right? Doing some immersive surround stuff.
Yeah.
Tell us about what that's all about, and then not only that, but there's a bunch of that going on right where you are.
There is, man. The Atmos stuff started in 2019, and the stuff I've gotten to mix has been, man, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, some of my favorite records I've remixed, and Johnny Cash. That's
got to be pretty intense.
Yeah, it's so funny. I love telling a story about how, what kind of wife I have. I'm sitting here and I'm literally like, I've got to work all weekend. I can't come home. If you want to come and see me, that's fine. And here I am. I'm literally mixing Folsom Prison over.
Wow.
And I'm pulling up these tracks, and I'm sitting here, and she's about to get here. Well, she walked in the door, and here it's Johnny Cash soloed up, working on his vocal, tweaking that song, making, I'm like, man, if this don't impress her, what will? She comes over, and I hope I can say this on podcast, now you can edit it out. But she comes over, gives me a peck on the lips, and sits on the couch and rolls a blunt. It's like, wow, she really doesn't give a damn about who I'm working on. I just thought it was pretty. I'm like, man, she's gonna be impressed with this. Nah, she doesn't give a damn.
That's great. That's great.
But it is. But no, what the Johnny Cash stuff I did, and I got to remix a lot of the Wolf Mother stuff, and
cool.
Bon Jovi. I remixed Dead or Alive.
Did you say there was some Nirvana in there too?
Did, man. I mixed a lot of the Nevermind record over. I can't remember if I mixed I think I did mix that whole record over. Wow. That was something, because I'll tell you what, I probably shouldn't say anything. You know what I'm saying?
I imagine there must have been some challenges trying to just, like be up against Andy Wallace's stuff too,
Yes, man, it's the recordings. It was hard for me to imagine someone pressing a talk back and going, "That was a great take," And but I'll say, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to say the name, but I'll just say this: it was hard for me to go. Somebody actually pushed the talk back and said, "That was a great take."
Fascinating.
Yeah, because most of them wasn't, and I know that was kind of the character of it. Yes, but there's character. But there's also too, though. But I'm gonna tell you, the Kurt Cobain guy was. Now that I did remix this stuff, I became somewhat of a fan after that, because I heard how good of a guy he was. I mean, he was just a great guy, man. Like, he seemed like he was concerned with everybody, more concerned about everybody else than himself, and that really impressed me. I was like, wow, man, this guy was a super, super nice guy, man. No wonder God blessed him,
Wow.
Because,
That's interesting.
I'm not trying to be sacrilegious or anything. I'm just saying, man, it's like, when somebody asks me, hey, do you believe in God? I go, oh, I know there's a God. You can just look at Nirvana.
Yeah, that's right.
But,
well, that kicked off, the 90s for us. So, in my experience, that's what that.
Oh yeah, man.
Nevermind was the record that dropped right when I moved to Nashville.
Definitely not saying I didn't like it, but I'm a fan. Look, I'm a producer. I'm a fan of production. I'm a fan of things being. They don't. No. The whole saying, the biggest saying I got in my control room is the little flaws that give it resonance.
Right,
man. But the big flaws, man, gotta go. I mean, come on, man. It's like, hey, man. When a song goes from freaking when it's between 5 beats and it switches up 5 beats, it fluctuates that much. Man, it's not comfortable to me. It's not comfortable. But now, I guess it is to the rest of the world because the dang thing sold a ton of records and nobody said, hey, man, thing's out of time. Oh, yeah, a few people did say the thing was out of time. But, look at freaking Pearl Jam's 10 record. I mean, one of the biggest records of all time. And, man, it's not great recording, man. And I can say it. Rick Prasher, God rest his soul, he pretty much told me, hey, man, I just, didn't really know what I was doing on that record. It was like, I'm just starting out, like, wow. But what a great record, So
what were some of the records that really impressed you at that, that in the 90s and stuff that was coming up?
In the 90s, I think
like what got you excited to want to go hit the studio yourself?
That's a pretty tough question because the 90s was kind of weak,
Well, was it more stuff in the 80s that really got you excited about it?
Yeah. But now, hang on here. Now, I'm going to tell you what, I was, a huge, I love the Stone Temple Pilots, man. And the Soundgarden stuff, man, it just connected with me more. And actually Pearl Jam Versus, I guess, really inspired me. The Versus record, that's the one that Brendan O'Brien did. And the Black Crowes, Black Crowes. But now the heavier bands, I was definitely more, earlier Metallica. Wasn't real crazy about the later stuff. They did, and the earlier Def Leppard stuff that was not, before he had just one arm.
You've since done a lot of heavy records. Like some of the stuff in your playlist that we put together, you can hear it in the show notes, Rockstars' Spotify. But you worked with Spike 1000, Liquid Gang, Danny Dark Below, Kira.
Yeah, and I'm with some of the newer stuff like Dark Below, which I'm mixing this week. God, I can't wait till you hear that record. Man, we've been working on this record. Jason Schreck, he's a guy. He's the only guy I co-produce with right now, but there are rumors I'm co-producing with some other producer this next month. It's quite a bigger producer, I would say. But man, me and Jason, we do a great job together with the bands, and we have another band we produce together called Amicus, and went to see them a couple weeks ago for the label thing, and they freaking sell out every time, and they're 18-year-old, 17-8-year-old kids, and man, just kill it. But
this stuff you're putting out on your label now, 10-inch wax?
We haven't officially signed to either band, but I got a feeling that we're going to, the label, is so funny. We started out being like this. We're going to just be an incubator label, and we're going to help bands get off the ground and get the numbers at Spotify, get the numbers that, followers and stuff, and do a social media run with them, all that shit, and build a foundation for them to go and sell them off to the majors. That was the first, because that's what I've always done, even when I worked for Island, they said I had my own label. I was just a glorified A&R guy that, even though I was sitting by Rick Rubin every day and Glenn Ballard, it's like, but man, I was an A&R guy, man, I just, so that's kind of where we wanted to land. And some of these bands that might be where we land, and some of them, because look, man, it takes a hell of a lot of money, and definitely we have a hell of a lot of money to build our label on, but But it's not enough to do it right with these bands. You can send them out on the road to starve to death and all that shit, and treat them like shit. But man, it's not what we're going to do, man. It's not what I want. But some band marching around the country pissed off at me because they can't pay any of their bills or freaking eat any food because, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's happened before, right? I mean, not to you personally. I'm just saying that's a history of the struggle of the band and the artist trying to make it.
Man, being a good businessman, I'm learning all about that. I didn't start growing up until I was 45 years old. So just the last 5 years, and what's funny is I'm not joking. I mean, man, engineer. The only thing I've ever done in my life is freaking record music. I mean, I've never done a damn thing else. I mean, I've never had another job. So,
so what are some other thoughts about, doing a label? I mean, like, why should the rest of us be thinking about starting a label? What should we know about it? What's the point of doing a label? What's the, I mean, you started to describe the right way to do it, but what are some other things we should be aware of?
Well, here's the big misconception of labels today and the music business today. Well, don't make any money anymore. Bullshit. You got 50,000 more ways to make money. I mean, there's so many more revenue streams now to go to with YouTube and streaming. And so, I know the streaming thing, there's a big deal over that. But if you get 4 or 5 million streams, I bet you would freaking have a little bit different attitude about the streaming thing. You know what I mean? In live shows, for some reason, do you remember in the 90s, live shows were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the record sales is what we're looking at. We're looking at how many hard discs we've sold at Walmart and Cats and all these different. But now the game has changed because now, your songs are definitely more. I think they're heard better now. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's better now than it was. Everybody's so negative about all this shit, man. Fuck that. You know what? Take what's given to you and make it great. But when you start a label, you're going, okay, now hang on here. How are we going to make the money back if we don't sell CD? Well, a label is easy, man. You're a partner with the freaking artist, man. And you guys are working together for this vision that you have that you want the artist to be. Well, it's going to cost a lot of money to play with the big boys, but you can build your thing on less money with the right team.
Atom Audio designs monitors with a mission to bring accuracy, transparency, and high definition to your studio, guiding you each step of the way on your journey from starting out in a home studio to installing your ultimate mixing setup in your pro studio. Check out their complete line of speakers and headphones from the T-Series to the AX Series to their top-of-the-line S-Series, which all use the unique ART-accelerated ribbon tweeter design, famous for creating smooth, detailed imaging that let your speakers disappear into your music. Want to feel awesome to make brilliantly accurate creative decisions in your mixes because you can finally hear your music clearly? Your ears are the greatest instrument you have, and if you can hear the music, then you can mix the music. Visit the Atom Audio YouTube channel for lots of cool free interviews, tutorials, masterclasses, and learn how to set up your studio monitors and control room. Just click the link in the show notes of this episode. Look, every studio needs a good vintage mic for that classic warm sound. Whether you're looking for those airy highs, sweet mid-range, or silky low-end, a good vintage mic can put the magic in your mixes. So it's no wonder vintage mics have been loved and praised by thousands of engineers for decades. The JZ Microphone Vintage series are built by hand in Latvia, using only the best electronic components, and feature the patented Golden Drop capsule design for great detail and richness of tone that will bring that classic vintage vibe to your studio and be a real workhorse for your sessions. This time, our friends at JZ Microphones have come up with a special offer only available to you, Rockstars. Use the limited time coupon ROCKSTARS to get 50% off the Vintage Series mics V67, V47, and the new V12 at jzmic.com. I love the idea of partnering up, and it makes sense. It's like we just want this to succeed for the artist. So what should we think about if we, as a label, like what do we bring to the table for an artist? Do we just basically give an artist an opportunity to produce a record the right way and release it without having that budget themselves up front?
that is a big part of it, man. It's one thing we haven't got yet. We haven't got a social media team yet,
Right.
Because a lot of these places, man, you pay them a bunch of money and they don't do shit. Well, and I love this one. Oh yeah, it's going to be a slow build.
Right.
Okay. Hey man,
translation, we're not doing shit.
But if I'm going to pay you $3,500 a month and sign a contract for a year, let me tell you something. It better be a fast build.
Well, it better be one fast, slow build.
Well, I won't say what I really like to say on this thing because I know it'd be inappropriate. But I'll tell you what, it better do a lot for me than get me likes. It's some gun better rub my back and everything else.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what do you feel like you've seen as far as what looks like successful social media? Not necessarily saying all the moves we have to do it, but when you've seen somebody succeed through social media, what does that look like?
That's the thing with the pop thing is like new music. If you get on that particular playlist, hey man, you're gonna break it. Pop,
right. So playlist is like radio, and so it's a question of trying to get on the airwaves, which is the playlist waves.
Yeah, it's convincing the powers to be to get you on those playlists. I'm not saying you got to fly to LA and have a meeting with those folks. I'm not saying that, it's a very uncharted territory for me too. But it's like, I'm going to go straight to the top with it because I can, for one, and for two, you want all the shots you can get. Now, these independent artists, man, they can write letters to these playlists, people who own these playlists, and send them their songs prior to releasing it, which is suggests to be what to do.
Right.
And here's the bottom line. Bottom line is if it sucks, they're not going to play it.
Right. Yeah. They always say that like, putting a lot of market, what is this? Like marketing a really successful product or something is, and putting a lot of money into it is a great way to go. But if you put a lot of money into marketing a bad product, it just makes it fail faster. Right.
Well, man, there's some stuff out there that I'm going, how in the hell did that ever become? But people that's the thing about you humans that I love. It's like, they have all these different tastes, different strokes for different folks. But man, you got to say there is some stuff you hear and you're like, how in the hell did they ever think that was good? I mean, seriously? Right. I mean, I'm not, there's some stuff out, man, that you just gotta shake your head at. You go, somebody had a lot of money to get that to a certain point, and that's a problem. That's the only problem with, like, that's the thing with being an independent artist and not being with a label. Then that's the reason why we're starting a label, because it's like, hey man, look, if obviously it's not just putting your shit on Spotify and then all of a sudden it goes viral.
Right.
If that happens for you, then you've won the lottery. But literally, you went down to the store, you got a lotto ticket, and you won. Still, that lotto ticket probably still ain't gonna be very big. I mean, it's gonna be maybe $100,000, but it ain't going to be the $10 million, but if you got money behind it, well, hopefully with the 100,000, somebody will pick you up, on Spotify, and, a label will, and you'll stretch it to become a big thing. But the problem is the time it takes to get that many plays that fast, because, you go into a loser bracket. I was looking into this. So if you don't have so many plays the first week, you automatically go to this bracket category below there that puts you in a losing situation that's hard to get out of, and it gets lower each week. Like, this guy doesn't have any streams, so we're just going to put him, and to dig yourself out of that hole is a pretty hard thing to do from what I hear. But now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you get 1 million streams over a year, that ain't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
1 million streams over a year, song's okay. But that doesn't make somebody go, wow. Well, if they'd had their shit together, or they would have had a company to do it right, the 1 million streams probably would have come in the first month.
So it's all about lining up everything. It's like pre-production before you hit the studio. It's pre-production before you hit the market.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning, man. You know what? There's not going to be a day alive when I'm alive that I don't learn more. But things are always going to be evolving with this whole the record business. I have to say, though, it was nice growing up in the real music business. I say the real music business because, hey, man, we sold records. It's the record business. Wow. Now, what are we supposed to call it? Streaming business?
Right. The music business, I guess.
The music business. Well, I'm starting to, wonder about that too. We should call call maybe a couple other separate things, but I mean,
The
I don't know.
experience business.
Because I mean, it's just like saying the word love. I mean, there should be 100 words for the word love, but I mean, so describe as one thing. So I guess we put everything under music. But some of it doesn't sound like music to me. But hey, it sounds like a computer programming to me. And I'm not talking about EDM. I'm talking about rock records. I'm just like, wow.
Well, that's also because we're getting older.
I know it. I don't mean to be like, I hate everything, because I don't. But kind of reason why the label got started too is like, there's not many bands I like do records on. It's like, it's the truth. It's like there's not many bands out there that I go, wow, now that there are some, but they're doing their thing. Usually by the time I hear them and I start liking them, because I'm always like anti-band. I remember I loved Radiohead, man, so much, and because Radiohead was, basically a band, a bread cover band. I mean, they stole all their songs with some, they threw in the whole Dark Side of the Moon effects and basically, ripped off bread. And I loved them until everybody else started loving them. And I'm like, oh man, God, I'm so tired of hearing Radiohead's name out. I hate that band now. I'm that guy. I don't mean to be that guy, but it's hard. It's like some of these modern rock bands, it's hard to imagine. Man, somewhere along the way we failed as a freaking society, if you ask me, when it comes to rock, And that's not being mean. That's just the truth. But now there are some good ones out there, but man, so far in view. Like to hear a great rock band now is like it's very.
So what would you like to hear? What would get you excited if this kind of music came along next, or if there was a band where you're like, I'd love to work with those guys. Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Greta Van Fleet.
Greta Van Fleet, right on.
Have you heard them yet?
I think so. Yes.
Well, definitely. The production is definitely cool. I mean, I think it is. I mean, I mixed some of it, and I thought the recordings were pretty cool. I mean, they're definitely better than most that's going on today.
Awesome.
But man, like the Glorious Sons, I really love that stuff, man. I mean, heck, stuff that's a little bit more real. I mean, I like Pro Tools records too, man. There's a lot of that Asking Alexandria stuff that's out. I really dig. I haven't listened to them in a while because I don't know. You just kind of burn out on a band, move on to the next one. Are you familiar with Bring Me the Horizon?
No, not yet.
Dude, which record was it that man, I'm talking, man, there's one record they did. I'm telling you, you got to hear this thing. The new one is good. It's good. It's not, it doesn't sound like a band as much, like that singer is definitely one in a million. Like, man, that dude.
Bring Me the Horizon.
You got to hear That's the Spirit is the record. That's the Spirit.
Right,
one of the best rock records ever made, man. And that was made, so 2015. So that was 6 years ago. And I'm going to tell you, man, that record will kick your ass, man. And it's great songwriting. Wow. Imagine that.
Right on, man.
No, but that's where Pro Tools, all that shit's got you, because what happens is these rock bands glue their record together, literally glue the record together.
Yeah. No mistakes anywhere. No discovery.
You get guys, man, that like Kyle O'Dell, man. I mean, he's a great guitar player. I mean, not good. He's great. They'll just play parts over because the band can't play. Well, you got to ask yourself now, okay, so if the drums aren't real, the guitars aren't even played by the band. He helped write the song too. Now so there's a guy singing it. We're tuning the shit out of him. How much of the record is really a band? That's not producing a record. That's freaking. Come on, man. Look, man. That's what I'm wanting to hear. Like, have you heard Gajira? Have you heard that band?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, listen. This band is like a meathead, like freaking rock band. But the thing is, when you hear it, and what I like about it is, the band played the record. Like, it sounds like a record. Well, yeah, Andy Wallace mixed it too. And you can tell it's real drums. You can tell that the band plays the damn record.
Yeah. No, well, that's one of the things I always dug about, what Jack White was doing over there too, is just trying to just play it all, and I remember when that release came out for Get Behind Me Satan, and they were talking about having recorded it and released it quickly, and listening, and I heard like tempo changes and stuff, and I was like, oh, cool. I mean, it didn't bother me too much, but I know what you're saying about how, everybody's got their own threshold too. Some people will hear some tempo variation and think that's too much. Some people will hear it and go like, oh, I love hearing the band move around a little bit. I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about, where a band comes up and then if the fill speeds up into the chorus a little bit, and then sometimes you're like, is that too much? And then other times you realize that the fill speeding up is just what's needed for it to sound exciting.
Well, and that's it, like back in the day, we played the click tracks in the studio, but our drummer was a badass and he played to the click. But when the chorus came, he pushed into it. He did what he had to do. And a lot of instances, we changed the tempo in the chorus, but we played around, but there was no fixing the drums. I mean, he played the damn thing. And like the Dakota Portman record, I'd say most of it's like that as far as like, but the tempo changes stuff, man, dude. I mean, I do that a lot, and I do that.
You mean you're changing the click track itself?
Oh yeah. There's one part in Dakota's record that it didn't go like a beat down or 2 beats down or beat up or beat it. None of that. Hell, I think we changed like, I don't know, 35 beats per minute to just drop the bottom out of it. But and it's like a cool moment. And the thing is, like one of the only country records I think that has horns on it, which I think is kind of cool.
Nice. Well, talk a little bit about that though. Like, how would we give the rock stars some tips on how to change the click track tempo slightly so that the feel is right, but we still got that guide of a click track?
Yeah, man. And man, I do the click track through Pro Tools and loops and stuff, because a lot of times we'll have a loop, the drummer playing to a loop, especially if it's a band situation. So, finding a good loop that the drummer can play to instead of just a click track.
Right.
And then you can speed it up. And when the song is arranged, and you can speed it up or whatever and slow it down to what you think. And man, here's the problem though. The problem is with rock bands or bands, period, like live bands, is every drummer has their thing. Like some drummers will play way ahead of the beat. Well, that's how he plays. Okay, so you better get used to it. So, man, having that fine line of how it's going to feel when he plays it and what the real tempo is another thing. Right. It sounds funny, ridiculous, but it's just finding that the right loops and grooves that they can play to, because those younger musicians, like the drummers that are younger, man, have a tough time with just the click, because look at the world they've been subject to, they've been subject to loops and stuff like that. And no matter what, they're not getting away from it. They're hearing it all the time. And that's what's the motor in their head that makes them run.
Yeah.
But yeah, but if you want a record that feels like it, you still got to have a time constant. Man, hey, listen, you ain't got to do shit. There's no rules here. There's no rule book. I'm just saying, man, that's what I would do, because it's so funny, because the Dakota Portman record's a great example. Like, man, we dropped the beat down here. I got a freaking whole room full of the greatest musicians on the planet. And I'm serious, like literally like the greatest. They're called that because they're making all the hit records right now. Right. Mm. So, and man, we're not even close. We dropped that click track down 35 beats. We're not even close to being on the click, but the damn thing sounded great, man. Let it roll. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
You just know Jason Bowles reached over and just turned the damn thing off. He just went over and just turned the slider off as the damn thing went down. Right as it went in there, he just said, fuck that shit. I'm just going to play. It sounds great, But and me and Mixie, I'm sitting there going, what the hell, man? We're way off the click here. It's like, well, it doesn't matter because it sounds great. So there you go.
You just brought up mixing again. Let me jump back in, see if I can pivot us back to close out the podcast. Maybe let's talk about Atmos a little bit. Like, what you're remixing all these cool records. What does it mean to be mixing in Atmos? Just give us an introduction to what the hell this thing is and what it's good for, and why are you remixing these records that way?
Well, okay, so it's a submerged, let's call it submerged surround sound. It's like
immersive audio. Yeah,
immersive. Yeah, it's like you're like inside of the music. It's a difference. Man, you know what? Best way to describe it to me is it's like a freaking if you're at Six Flags on a freaking theme park ride. You know what I mean? But you can put.
I'm about ready to go do that right now.
Well, are you really?
Hell yeah, man. I want to get the hell out of my house, out of my studio. I want to get out into the world like everybody. But of course, you Rockstars, you're going to be hearing this quite a while after we record this. So we're recording this in the early spring, but you guys are catching this in the midwinter and all that.
Hopefully by the time this podcast is played, that they'll either that we won't hear about this virus shit anymore, or they'll come up with something else for us. There's a comet coming and killing us all. But
man, we don't have to go there. But we're already there enough, right? So, but let's talk about Atmos. So, give us a breakdown. What is it, man? If let's say got my home studio, I'm gonna mix an Atmos. Where do I even begin?
Ooh, well, you're gonna have to design a room that's for it, man, because it means there's 4 speakers on each side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 4 speakers above your head and 4 behind you, and then you have 3 in front of you. So you have this. Of course, you have a stereo thing, and the whole thing is not only do you got to make it you can spread the thing out any which way you want to. Like with the White Zombie stuff was really fun because he has a lot of bells and whistles going all the time. So part of the loop is behind you. The kick drum is in the very middle of the room. You know what I mean? And bass for that kind of stuff. And it's just interesting because it's there's parts that you never heard. Like on Rocket Man, when I heard that, was the first thing I heard in Atmos. My life changed. I'm over here in my studio. I'm like, damn, I'm over here in a horse and buggy. Those guys are over in a space shuttle.
Yeah.
It's funny because this morning I got the okay. I'm gonna mix Dakota Portman's the first single in Atmos because we can get it in movies because that's what it's doing. It's for the movie industry, kinda, but it's going. The new Tesla cars that's coming out is going to have that format in it.
The Tesla car is going to have an Atmos playback?
Yes, that's what I was told.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and that's cutting edge, and that I think is when everybody started jumping on it. But now there's different things. There's Sony and all. Man, I haven't heard that much on that system. It did oh my God, when I heard it, but it might have been the artist, it might have been the mixer, it might have been whatever. But just the Atmos thing to me seems like it's going to happen. It's so funny because my folks say they have my mom and her, my stepdad have a Atmos system in their house, and because I was mixing on it, they had to get the system. I know.
So this is something if we want, that's the first question. People are you hear all the speakers, you're wait a minute. So people are going to have all these speakers everywhere. Do you have to have a massive installed system to be able to experience this? Can you listen on headphones and enjoy it? Can you just have a few headphones, speakers and enjoy it?
Yeah, like a part of the big job is to get it to spread out on the room and have that, and it still sound like a good stereo mix in the headphones. And it's so funny because I've been experiencing that mixing these last 2 records with the Wow Box. I don't know if you know about that, but
no, what's that?
I have one. Oh man, dude. Well, I'll tell you, if you listen to anything Randy Staub does mixes, because this is what got me when I heard that Dark Horse record years ago. I went, now hang on here, because there's no way that's too wide. I mean, not only is the guitar sitting outside of the stereo spectrum, it's sitting way out there. I mean, damn, how the fuck is he doing that? I mean, I'm sorry about the language here.
No, sorry. We're language. You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Well, I always say it's a recording studio podcast. What, are we not going to swear in the studio?
No shit. I know, man. Everybody's on my ass about because I'm starting a streaming thing. They're worried about me on here, live streaming. What the fuck is wrong with this? But anyway. But no, if you listen to that record, you listen to how the stereo thing. Man, I'm telling you, Elijah, if you haven't got one, go get one today. Man, pay $200 for mine. You got to get a clean DI to make it clean, and that thing stereo as hell. Like all of a sudden, the middle of your mix is so open. And
say what it is again. I don't think I still don't understand.
It's called a Wow Box.
A Wow Box. It's a physical thing.
Yes, they only made them from 84 to 92. Okay. And I think that Randy Staub and another guy has pretty much bought all of them up, so it's going to be hard to find one. It's going to be real hard to find one. But man, I paid $200 for mine. It's the best investment I've made. And I did that, and the Sonar Works the same week, and my life changed, man, because then I can run anything through that wow box. And man, I know it sounds so funny, the wow box. It is like, wow. My guitars, I'll run through that, and they're so far out. It gives me another dimension of mixing. Like what it does is it gives me another layer, because your stereo spectrum is so wide. You can put stuff way out there, then put some guitars that's in where they normally are. Then you can just work yourself in, and your bass and drums are freaking it's so much more clear and so much easier to mix. It's awesome, dude.
That sounds like fun.
Couldn't stress enough. And what's funny is I saw one about a month and a half ago. I saw one for sale. I'm like, damn, I should buy it, man. Man, I should buy it. Man, I'm going to buy another one just in case. I'm going to have a backup, maybe even 2 or 3 in case, because sooner or later, you're not going to be able to buy one. You're not going to be able to find one. Now, somebody told me that they were making a plug-in for it. Well, yeah, they'll get it kind of right, but it'll take them a few years to get that right, because when you hear this, it's a different level, man.
I'm
serious.
I've never heard of anything like that. That's wild. But
yeah,
I like stuff that there are definitely some plugins out there that do some cool widening effects. And it's definitely worth, fun to explore all that stuff. But that's cool, man. But I can't find one. I'm looking on eBay right this second. Of course, Rockstars, I got a head start on you. Sorry about that. And I don't see anything up there. So,
well, now look on Reverb. There was one on there, like I said, not long ago. But man, those things are going so fast, man.
Cool. The OWC Envoy Pro Electron is the fastest, toughest, mini-sized, universal, portable USB-C SSD that lets you record from anywhere in the galaxy with confidence. With speeds of up to more than a gigabyte per second real-world performance, the OWC Envoy Pro Electron gives you high-speed audio data for recording and playback. Take your sessions and sample libraries with you anywhere you go. Built for reliability, the OWC Envoy Pro Electron is waterproof, dustproof, and crushproof. Never worry about your storage and the safety of your music again. Find the new OWC Envoy Pro Electron and all your storage needs at macsales.com/rockstars. Any other fun stuff that you've been old cool gear that you're using all the time on mixes?
Man, more of the tracking, like this record, a new artist called The Winter. Cordell Winter is the singer. Man, I went back to less microphones on the drum kit, man, and better. When I say better, but I'm saying there's a reason why there's like $500,000 worth of microphones on the floor, and there's only about 7 or 8 microphones. I mean, and just got back into doing my Andy Johns / Malcolm Springer things. I do a little bit different than Andy Johns, but the mic over the snare drum, and then went out by the ride cymbal, but see, I put a mono overhead right between the cymbals, exact same measurement from a snare drum. So that's been my thing lately, man, and trying to get looking for that freaking the golden vocal tone. You know what I'm saying? It's like and I gotta say, I've been doing a lot of the freaking E-drum thing, man. But I broke down and bought the damn a Superior drummer yesterday. So, and I know it's going to sound better. My big thing is the cymbals. I'm just telling you, I fly in like I have some pasty 2002 samples, and I just go through there and freaking every single hit on the cymbals. I will fly in and paste, my crashes in.
Because you like the way they sound. They work for your mix.
Yeah, man. It's like, no matter, you can't even rent a pair of 2000. You can't rent a set of 2002s in Nashville now. They're so expensive. You can buy one cymbals more than you go there and buy a brand new set of freaking Zildjians. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why they're more expensive, because they sound better. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. But you what turned me to 2002 cymbals as an engineer or producer was that damn AC/DC Back in Black record. It literally says on the back of that record, AC/DC plays pasty 2002s. And I remember seeing it as a kid, and man, I've just been glued to those ever since. So it might be a mental. That might be a mental thing. But I'm just saying.
It's a good reference, man. That's a good reference.
Yeah, man, if you can't, hey, the greatest sounding rock record ever made, use them. I think it's time, hands down, greatest sounding rock record ever made. I mean, the way every record is compared to that record now, I mean, if you ask me, that's my opinion, though.
All right, so let's circle back again. I'll keep pushing us back to this Dolby thing. So, they have something called objects or something, right? You have to start figuring out how you route your mix up, where you've got like a stereo mix, but then you've also got things that you can then move around in 3D, so it's behind you or above your head or below you.
Total like control of wherever you want anything. If you want to just put the hi-hat in the back of the room for like just like one beat in the verse one time, it's automated back. It's ridiculous, man. It's an experience because it's like man, it's so I'm trying to like see how other people see it, but for me, it wasn't because, oh boy, now I get to play with the speakers. No, it was like, man, I got plenty of room to put everything I ever wanted on certain songs as a producer.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh man, there's no sense of putting a string section on a damn song because you'll never hear it anyway. Where the hell am I going to put it? You know what I mean? The mix is ate up. I mean, where are you going to put it? It's like that kind of thing is, I think, going to be a thing of the past. Everything's going to get more musical. I mean, when I say more musical, more parts and instruments and stuff that makes sense. And hey, what'll freak you out is you hear Rocket Man over there in Atmos, and there's parts, dude, and I know that Elton John stuff backwards and forwards, and there's parts I didn't hear.
That's fascinating. So what's interesting to me is I start picturing like, okay, now instead of thinking about like mixing in Dolby Atmos as a thing that you do at the mix stage where you break out something into Atmos, it's like at the production stage, record it. Just go like, hey, let's do an overdub right now where we put something on the back right. And that's how you listen to it while you're recording it. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
because man, it's going to get there. No, the music industry is always behind the film industry a step, or two. It's like people are becoming smarter. I mean, in some ways dumber too, but they're technology-wise, they're getting smarter, and they want to hear more. They want be more interesting. They want stuff that's going to make them move more. And man, it's just the Atmos thing in your car is going to be awesome. And man, you know how it is. Like I know rednecks back in Missouri that bought surround sounds. And look, I walk to these people's these houses before. These guys aren't making a lot of money. They're not that, man, they got to have their surround sound though for movies and stuff. And here they are, they're buying Atmos, systems so they can have that for watching a movie. Yeah. It's really going to get good, and the musical experience is going to go up a notch. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And we were talking about that virtual thing, like we were talking about now that was kind of weird. To mix a song where when you turn your headphones, all of a sudden it sounds like your head's turning from the speakers. Right. I guess that's a gamer thing though, right? Is that right, what?
Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just about what you want the experience to be at listening. But what was I going to say about that? Talking about this like, enhanced listening experience. It just reminds me all the way back when we were talking about like, the music business, and you made the point of like, don't sit around complaining about how the music business has gone or changed. It's like there's plenty of opportunity out there. You just have to seek it out in the right kind of way. To me, the music business was a thing where there was a limited supply of vinyl records or CDs. And so therefore that was the thing everybody wanted, and that's how you could experience it. And so therefore it had value, and therefore the business kind of blew up around it. And now that's just shifted, where it's like the limited experience might be something along the lines of, the experience of hearing this in Atmos and a really great setup. And then that becomes, there's a lot of value in that, or like the live performance. But anyway, I'm just pointing out that like, it's exciting to think about how can you make the whole experience of this a whole lot cooler?
Yeah, because, well, just think about it this way, and this is the way I always was confused with this. Like, why in the hell we haven't had HD music? I mean, not 96, whatever, K. I mean, like, why in the hell haven't we can buy it and listen to it that way? And Well, welcome, boy. You listen to earbuds. Man, that's bullshit, man. I mean, I know that people back home in freaking redneck Missouri, those guys, man, they got hi-fi systems in their house. They got hi-fi systems in their trucks. Yes, they are listening on earbuds sometime, but I'm saying, though, they want shit. It's like when Compact Disc came out. I remember hearing, speaking of Back in Black, the first record I heard digitally remastered was Back in Black, and it kicked my ass. Went, holy shit, everything is changing. This is amazing. Oh my God, I want to hear the record again. And I just sat and listened to that record 3 times in a row. I was like, wow. Now that's what I'm talking about. And I knew right then, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, man, is I want to make shit sound like this.
Yeah.
Because it really was like a spiritual experience, and Atmos is like that. Man. It's something you're like, you're not quite understanding because you're so used to hearing things in just stereo. Oh, by the way, that whole check it mono thing, man, you know what? My life is so much better now. I don't check the mix in mono. I don't care. If you ain't got stereo speakers, don't listen to my shit then. You know what I mean? Just go somewhere else, When I don't break it. Yeah, but anybody's got a mono radio? I got to admit now, they got those little speakers that
those
you go.
Little Bluetooth things, right? Yeah, true.
But honestly, that's still a stereo. Still stereo thing. They're coming up from one, 2 little sources or whatever. But it's not a mono mix, But anyway, but yeah, the Atmos I don't think would work very good mono.
I mean, I don't know. But I did get a chance to hear it over at Blackbird. I guess it was a couple of NAMs ago. And man, it blew me away hearing some of those remixes. I think David Leonard was demonstrating his mixing. And it was just a cool experience.
David Leonard is definitely a master. And I have a ton of respect for that man. I mean, we heard a couple records yesterday on the way back from St. Louis because we were coming back and we were listening. I mean, dude, let me tell you something, man. That Prince stuff he did, and just some of the mixes he's done is just amazing. But
that's what I heard. I think it was When Doves Cry. So all right. So then I'm no expert on this stuff, but my understanding is that I think we can start by just learning how to mix an Atmos on headphones. So if we're in a home studio environment, I think there's a way to, start mixing that way and create a 3D thing that will play back on an Atmos system. But I'm sure, having the real deal in your control room is the ultimate level.
They'll have to come out with a monitoring system that works for, it doesn't cost $80,000. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like everything else, like, hey man, a Pro Tools rig used to be, hey man, you had to have at least $50,000 or at least 40 to get a hi-fi Pro Tools rig.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, man. Hey man, you can go out, you can get a pretty decent Pro Tools rig, man, for under $5,000. I mean, and it'd be pretty banging. Well, you may not have any plugins that must be plugins, but you can definitely record a record with $5,000 and go if you know what you're doing. That's for sure. But and that's the way to be with the Atmos is they'll end up having somebody will come up with this thing that one of the speaker companies, how it goes, man. It'll be probably Mackie will be the first one to fucking rise to the occasion. You know how that is, and JBL and all. But hey, man. I don't know if some of the bigger hi-fi ones would go there. Genelec, Genelec's already doing it though, I think. Now hang on, because I remember seeing over at Soundstage they had a Genelec system for their Sony thing anyway. But anyway, but there have to be a way you can monitor at the house, but they'll do it.
Well, they put them in sound bars where the sound bar itself will give you some of that Atmos playback experience just under a TV in front of you without even having speakers all over the place. But I'm with you. And, we'll see. Anyway, it's a whole lot of fun to hear it. It's a lot of fun to experience it. And I'm looking forward to trying to do some mixes and headphones and see what I can get in my studio. So, Malcolm, let me jump forward and we'll kind of hit some of these closing questions, if that's all right with you, man. It's been super fun having you here on the show. And I love hearing your stories, man. It's funny. But let me jump to these closing ones. So like when you were starting back when you were starting out in recording, what do you feel like was holding you back? You've been doing this for a minute, but at the start of this, what do you feel like there was anything that was kind of holding you back from moving forward?
Man, besides, well, I probably shouldn't say anything about my ex-wife. Besides that, man, to be honest with you, man, it was figuring out where I was gonna fit in, because you know, and I think everybody goes through that in their career, man, and this and what I do. Like, okay, well, do I want to be known as the guy who records just heavy rock bands, or am I a guy who want to just be known as the guy who does black gospel? Because that's where I originally wanted to record, get into this.
Well, and I mean, we all know that you wanted to be the guy who did the Bigfoot Elvis duet record.
Oh yeah, man, Bigfoot. See, that's going to be one of the biggest records I do. Bigfoot and Elvis getting together. But if you think about, man, if we come with a good song, though, man, you never know. But seriously though, with the whole thing, it was like knowing where to fit in. Like the focus of what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? Are you going to be the guy that are you a rock producer? Or are you a gospel producer? Or are you a country producer? Are you? And I think that has been as far as a holdback for me, because I love producing all those things, and I just love good music, and my discography is definitely confusing because you see, and that stuff is, there's not any stuff on there. Hell, there was stuff I worked on before I ever started listening to stuff. I mean, when I was 18, I worked on some stuff, and big stuff too that I didn't want on air because it would have made me look like I was a country producer coming up, not a rock producer, and rock bands aren't going to hire me because they see I worked on more country records than, and at the time, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like country that much besides, Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and stuff like that. But anyway, the whole point is like knowing what you're doing and focusing on that is, man, if that's the best advice I can give anybody, because that'll hold you back, not knowing what you are. When I fit in really good. I fit in great at House of Blues with Pops and working on those records. And you know what, man, like I understood by 6 years into it that I really love the blues, and I love recording real bands and
Wait, you guys
records.
have blues records in Memphis?
I know. It's so funny because it's like, we were talking about this the other day, and I don't care if Kenny, hears this, because Kenny Wayne Shepherd is a great guy, but he had when he walked in the door, he gotta be me. I'm a young guy. I'm David Z's engineer, and I'm like, so this guy can't sing, he don't have songs, and we're going to give him a record deal. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Look how huge he became. But that's why David Z was a producer. That whole entire thing is it's just crazy to me. But Jeff's name? The Buzzard was the A&R guy, so I knew it was going to be big because everything that man touches is big. Used to, I guess he signed to Doobie Brothers, signed so many great bands. But anyway, so I knew, hey man, we got money behind this. This thing may happen, and man, it just blew up. But there's been challenges like that. But that's the thing. Look at everything like and sometimes I look at things a little bit too simple now. Well, hey, if it works, why are we fucking trying to think of something else? That doesn't make any sense. Like, had a big deal with the band from St. Louis with this Amicus band. That, the drummer is the singer, and man, he's he's an amazing drummer. This kid's like, I don't know, he's 18, 19 years old, and hey, man, he's singing his ass off and playing drums, and it's like, and people are coming to the shows. So interesting, because we're getting a drummer and putting him up front. Can't wait to see. But who the first drummer for Aerosmith was, right?
I should, but you tell us.
Steven Tyler.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's like they had made that call. You're not going to be Don Henley. You're not going to be what was Genesis or what Phil Collins. Anyway. But back to the question about what's going to hold you back. But that's what held me back, was not knowing. And still today, I go, man, am I a country producer? Am I a rock producer? Man, I produce both, man.
Right,
and, so there you go.
Do you want to record killer drums in your home studio? Rockstars of Drums will show you how to record, edit, and mix pro-sounding drums with examples from a Nashville session drummer in a Grammy-winning studio. Do you want to know how to master your own music at home? Rockstars of Mastering will show you how with plugins in your DAW so that your music will sound awesome when you finish your mixes. And if you're looking for a step-by-step solution for a pro-sounding mix that won't take years to learn, the Ultimate Mixing Masterclass with Craig Alvin will show you a proven method for creating Grammy-winning quality mixes that you can apply in your home studio right now. Or if you just need to learn the fundamentals of creating a great sounding mix, then register for my free course Mix Master Bundle to get great mixes using simple free plugins. And get started now making your best record ever at recordingstudiorockstars.com/academy. Use the code ROCKSTAR at checkout to get 10% off any course for a limited time. Let's see. Let me jump forward to a little bit of the business stuff here again, because we talked about label stuff, we're talking about studio stuff. For the rock stars who want to make music for more than just a hobby, they want to stay in the game, make a life out of it, like you have. What advice or tips do you have for the business side of moving forward?
Well, man. This is the best. It's just so funny you asked that, because I was talking about this the other day. Man, this is where I came from. I came from Tom Dowd, which is supposed to be the, number one producer of all time.
I had his daughter Dana Dowd's been on the podcast with you too.
Oh, awesome, man!
Yeah.
Now I recorded Son of Slam. That's right, a band called Son of Slam for him, and I engineered some of that stuff.
Oh, cool.
But I only worked with him for a couple weeks. It was not like I was his engineer or anything. I'm not saying that. And at the time, if I'd have known who he really was, I would have been shitting in my pants, and I probably would have fucked up pretty bad, Later on, did I learn that, oh shit, that's that guy, the guy who bugged the White House for Watergate, and was on the Manhattan Project. And besides that, recorded some of the biggest, probably my favorite records. So there you go. But no, learning a little bit him, and then Jim Dickinson. I started engineering for him, and then then it went to Don Was and became Bob Clearmountain's guy there and worked for him. And I was blessed with those mentors. And then of course Peter Collins was my biggest influence and mentor. And man, that's what you better do. Man, the one thing I shouldn't say this, but I hate people saying I'm a producer. Well, really? Well, what the hell have you fucking produced? You're a fucking producer. Well, what the fuck have you produced? Let me hear it, because I want to know what somebody can call themselves. I've been working my ass off my whole life. And you know what? I'll tell you what, man. Back in the day, you called yourself a producer before you were a producer, man. You get your ass kicked. And I'm not kidding either. That's how it was. You're not a producer, dude. You know what you are? You're a fucking wannabe producer. So why don't you say I'm a wannabe producer? Yeah, I have a really bad chip on my shoulder about it, because you know how it is, man, when you go to buy a fucking car and somebody asks you what you do for a living, and you got some punk saying he's what you are. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Well, I'm a record producer. Well, it's like, now it used to be this thing where you had pride in that name, Now, you know what? Guess what, Elijah? I'm also a brain surgeon. If anybody needs any brain surgery, y'all come over Robert Berry Hill. I'll knock that noggin open, man, and work on it, man. Now, listen, that's ridiculous, isn't it? But that's what it is. That's how big of a deal. That's how big of a deal is it to me. Like somebody don't even know how to mic a drum kit up is telling me they're a producer. That makes me furious. It's like, oh, really? Okay, well. All right, Mr. Producer. That's the way I am. Sorry about the attitude.
That's all right. That's all right. It's just the opposite of the kind of fake it till you make it mentality, saying. So what would if you're saying don't fake it, don't say you're something you're not yet, what would you suggest people do?
Go work for people. But it's so funny, because Alan Reynolds, when I heard Rope in the Wind, never liked country music that much. I said, but when I did hear Rope in the Wind, I went, oh God, I want to work for this Alan Reynolds guy. And I called that guy. I was 18 years old, man. I called him. I said, listen, man, I want to work for you. I want to learn what you do. I didn't get the gig because he didn't need anybody, but I was smart enough to know, hey, if I'm going to do something, I better go learn from people who really know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And T-Bone Burnett was a big wake up call for me, because when I was told I was going to engineer for him, I literally dropped the phone. And I was, what, oh yeah, we got you booked, but it's with T-Bone Burnett. You're working with Gillian Welch and Alison Krauss. I'm like, holy shit, man, my heart stopped. Well, this is my hero. This is one of my heroes, so I better be, man, within 10 minutes, like I've been engineering for him my whole entire life. And I went, okay, now that's a great producer.
Right. He just made you feel comfortable and made you feel like you're part of the team.
I pulled off some shit in that session that I could have never pulled off. And he didn't do anything besides tell me to do it. It was the fact that he telling me to do it. It's like, hey, man, this is what I've been working my ass off for my whole life, is to engineer for this guy and learn how he makes things happen. And that's my best advice. If you're going to be a producer, or an engineer, go work for the best, and work for the very best you can. It's not impossible. All it is like, if you want to do it bad enough, well, hey man, if you don't like making coffee, if you don't like going and getting dinner, if you don't like doing the bitch things that you got to do to get there, don't do it at all. Just get out of the way. Because right. You know why? Because honestly, man, it's what causes a lot of the havoc in our industry. And it's sad, man. There's some gifted kids. I mean, there's natural born piano. I'm one of those guys that just sat down and started playing piano when I was 8 years old. I had one lesson, man, and I hated it so much I went and learned it myself, so I wouldn't have to take lessons anymore. That's just the truth of it. It's like, but there are those guys, man, that have that gift at recording, but how are you going to know how to do things without working? I don't do things exactly like T-Bone Burnett ever, and not like Peter Collins ever. It's like, but all those things, knowledge rolled into one is what makes me. It's like there's a part of them that I have that I freaking carry with me. And the things I didn't like, I left alone, but you got to learn you got to see how it's done. And to say how to make a record coming out of a bedroom and never have made a record is just ridiculous to me. It's like, oh, really? Okay. Well, I did too when I was 14 years old. And you know what? The demos on my band sounded good enough. We got us a freaking, we got a lot of attention, and we got people looking at us, all this stuff. But man, I wasn't a producer, but hey, man, I didn't call myself one. I mean, matter of fact, I got offered that a few times that I turned it down, and some really, really big situations when I was younger. No, I engineered it. Because if you give me production credit, man, do you think all these other producers that hire me to engineer for them are going to hire me again? Hell no, they're going to be like, oh, he's big time now. He's a producer.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't call myself a producer ever until someone called me a producer, and that was Jeff Hansen and Leor Cohen. It's kind of like the mafia, man. You get named, used to. Now you can just call yourself a producer and walk down the street, go, hey, man, I'm a producer. It's embarrassing. Look, back in the old days, someone that was powerful and had a lot of stature and has someone that was in the business that people freaking totally had, they could call me, they could name me that, like Prince. Prince named David Z a producer. Put it this way, it's always every producer I know. That's what real producer. We're like the Jedi, man. We're like they're killing us off a little bit at a time, and there's not me left. I mean, there's not though. There's not me.
Who's Yoda?
Well, Yoda to me is Peter Collins, But
right on, man. Well, all right. So that's awesome, dude. I got one more question for you. This one is hypothetical, man. I like to ask it of all our guests, but it's a little bit similar, but maybe you have a slightly different take on it. This is going to take the Wayback Studio machine, and you get to go back in time and find that young 14-year-old Malcolm who's, engineering those records back in the day. And you say, listen, dude, I came all the way back here to give you this one bit of advice. Here's the single most important thing you should know right now to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice would you go back and give yourself if you could, Malcolm?
Don't start smoking.
Because it's hard to stop.
Well, yeah, but I didn't start smoking till I was 20. And Jim Dickinson told me, and I swear this really happened. He said, "Man, you're not ever going to be a real engineer until you wear a biker jacket and you smoke Marlboro Lights." I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I started smoking Marlboro Lights and I started wearing biker jacket, and I was a better engineer.
You still got the biker jacket?
I do. It was Geffen Records gave it to me for God Street Wine's first record, yeah, that Levin Geffen's, that bunch over there, the Geffen bunch. But no, it was
with the patch on it and everything, or just straight
on the back of it and the whole bit. Yeah, it was made in London and all that good stuff.
Nice, man.
But as you know, I don't have long hair anymore because I can't grow long hair. But so I grew long hair, got a biker jacket, started smoking Marlboro Lights, and man, I got better overnight at engineering. But no, I guess my advice is just don't go chasing ghosts, man, because that was a big thing of mine. Is like, when I say ghosts, like I still do the same thing. Sometimes it's like, hey, man, that's why I'm writing a book called "What the Fuck Was I Thinking?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because how you listen to a mix at night before you go home, and then you get up the next day and you come in and you listen to the mix, you're like, really? What the? It sounds nothing like what I heard last night. It's like, well, stop that shit, because I've learned how to mix for 3 hours on something and get the hell out of it.
That's awesome,
and
man.
go back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So just don't go chasing ghosts, because and I love this because I made a couple of YouTube and Facebook posts, and hey, if you think the bass is too loud, it probably is.
Man, I'm going back and forth on that recently. I'm like, because every time we go do another mix and turn the bass down, I listen to that one. I'm like, yeah, but that mix sucks.
Man, there is a fine line between mixing and engineering with intelligence, and then there's the other part that's heart and creative, and those two things blending together is a fine line. It's hard to find. Because me, I want to kick my ass. I don't give a shit. It can sound terrible. If it kicks my ass, at least it kicks my ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's bands though, man. I swear there was one. We listened to on the way back from St. Louis the other day, and we went up there for some label business. Me and Chris, my partner, label partner, and we coming back. And he said, "What about this band? Check this band out, man. Band kicks my ass, but thing sounds like shit." But it kicks my ass. It's like, hey, man, there's a fine line between those things. And you got to find that line of common. These guys that have no emotion, that are just straight up just like, man, because all engineers and producers is just really, we're just a bunch of geeks, dressed up in tattoos,
biker jackets.
Yeah, that's all we are. We act like we're tough guys. We ain't tough guys, dude. We're just freaking dorks, man. All we are is freaking Poindexters that is interested in some crazy shit about making something sound good. It's like, hey, man, it's just dude, when you have a conversation between engineers, like, yeah, I like that 33609, ran that into a 427. It's like all these numbers. People listen to that and they go, wow, what the hell are they talking about?
Exactly. Especially if they're all sitting at the same table with you, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, man, I'll say this, man, at 50 years old, I still learn every day. I still learn more about stuff. And I learn from I'm a young engineer, man. And heck, I've learned stuff from him, as far as like what the new fang-dangled plug-in is or whatever. And, my attitude about not being able to get a real mix out of a Pro Tools rig is gone. I'm settled in, Now I do use outside stuff, but, I'm settled in, and I'm happy. Do I think everything I do sounds amazing? I've never thought that. It never will. I'm always going to want, hell, there's records from freaking 20 years ago I wish I could go back and remix.
Yeah, man. Well, but dude, it's awesome having you here on the show, man. It's hilarious. I love the stories, man. And I want to be there when you make that Elvis Bigfoot record. Make sure you include us in that. But I want to just say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, man. We kind of hit the end of our time here, but
thank you for having me.
Let the rock stars know where can they go find you online? Where would you like them to go check out all your music? What if they're ready to make their next big record, or they're looking for the greatest label that they need to discover?
Well, the label is 10-inch vinyl, and it's spelled out, TEN, inch vinyl, and our first release, I guess, is in May, where it's going to like the indicator charts for Dakota at first, to get him to know everybody. So 10-inch vinyl, and of course, go to my webpage, at malcolmspringer.com, and man, hey, send me some music, if you're interested to do some recording, or we'll start the freaking streaming for mixing videos and stuff like that. So hopefully I can help some guys out.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, hopefully, please make some Atmos mixing ones because I'm super curious about how all that goes down.
Yeah, man. It's going to be fun. Some fun stuff, man, pretty soon.
Awesome, dude. Well, dude, I look forward to meeting you in person, man. I can't wait to come over and check out the zone there and be back over in Berry Hill. And again, man, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. We'll talk real soon. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. And if you want more free content from Recording Studio Rockstars, all you have to do is go to rsrockstars.com/email. Again, that's rsrockstars.com/email to enter your name and email, and I'll keep you in the loop with articles, videos, podcast updates, and even free gear giveaways for your studio. Just look for the link in the show notes below. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our amazing sponsors who have helped make this episode possible. OWC, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, Isotope, and JZ Microphones. Remember to use the coupon codes ROCK10 at isotope.com/rockstars for 10% off any plugin purchase, or start your extended 30-day free trial subscription to get access to lots of plugins, and Rockstars at JZmic.com for 50% off select vintage series mics for a limited time. And remember to visit the Atom Audio YouTube channel for free interviews and masterclasses, and use the coupon code ROCKSTAR for 10% off any course at Recording Studio Rockstars Academy for a limited time. You'll find links to all these wonderful sponsors in the description of this podcast. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. I would also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko, Braden Stremming, and John Richardson, for additional podcast and video production. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.